and welcome to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'll be your host. So on today's episode, we're heading over to North Gateway High School, to go and hang out with our new best girlfriends who might only like us because we're newly gay, I guess. But anyway, though, today's episode, though, we're going to be covering a little movie from 2013 called GBF, or Gay Best Friend, for, it's the shortened version, I guess, of GBF, I guess. Whatever. Anyway, so this movie, like I said, it came out in 2013. It came out at festivals, and I think it had like a VOD release in 2014, I believe. So celebrating a 10-year, like a belated anniversary, I guess, for this episode. I will say GBF is one of these movies where I became familiar with it, probably just watching it on... To be honest, probably Netflix is where I first watched it, because it was on there for quite a while. Just seeing that it was like a gay thing just kind of had me intrigued. But then also finding out that this was also directed by the one and only Darren Stein, who is, of course, known for directing Jawbreaker, one of my favorite movies. That also helped too. So I was like, oh, wait a minute, like this could be fun. So I remember watching it, and I probably watched it, like I said, in 2015, 2016 or something. And I always kind of had a nice little affinity for the movie. Is it perfect? No, not necessarily, but I will say that I think it is a fun movie. I do think it is, it's nice to see it, an overtly queer story, and I think overall, I think it is fairly successful in what it's trying to do, if anything, so I can appreciate that for what it is. So yeah, and I think this movie is starting to get a little bit of a nice little kind of cult following, if you will, of people who are aware of it, or they maybe saw it when they were younger, or like whatever. I mean, by the time this came out, I was already like 21, I think. So it was a little different for me, but at least I was aware of like what Darren Stein had already done before. So this was just kind of it was nice to kind of see some of the same elements in this movie as well, which I thought was really cool. So, but yeah, as we normally do in the show, we're going to talk a little bit about we're going to talk about the cast and the crew, and then I am so excited to be having a nice interview you'll hear in this episode as well. But without further ado, everybody, let's get on to those figures. GBF was released. So Tribeca, it was April 19th of 2013 is when it premiered. And then it actually, I believe, went on VOD, or it was quote released in the US January 17th of 2014, which is why you're hearing this now on this day. So happy anniversary, or belated anniversary, I guess, to this movie. 10 years goes by so quick. We're looking at a runtime about 94 minutes, and the distributor was Vertical Entertainment. And so actually, a fun little thing that I found out, and you'll hear more about this in the interview coming up. Online, you will find that there are some reports that say that this was $3.2 million to make. I actually found out that this movie, I think, was made under 500,000, honestly, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because that is insane. So yeah, this movie, I don't think it did not take $1 million to make this, or anything over. It literally, I think, was made for under 500,000, actually more in like the 4 range. So that's kind of fucking crazy. There are no box office numbers for this movie because it never actually did a wide release like that. It only really did streaming, and I think it premiered on DirecTV as well, but it never went to like a theatrical release like that. So don't have any box office information. In regards to some of the reviews, or some of the scores on Rotten Tomatoes and Letterboxd and all, so we're looking at about an 80% out of 45 reviews from critics on Rotten Tomatoes, and then about a 55% from about 5,000 ratings. So again, it's kind of split a little bit. And then a 2.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So again, this movie is kind of like, it's not beloved by a bunch of people. However, I personally don't mind it. Funny enough, I would like to thank friend of the show, Trace Thurman. Hey, Trace. He actually recently, within the last month, I think, he had watched this movie and put on his Letterboxd where he said something to the effect, let me pull it up. He gave this a 4.5, and he said how this never got a Heathers / Jawbreaker / Mean Girls style cult following is beyond me. It's so funny. So, you know, hey, Trace. He watched it in November, I think. But yeah, I mean, I completely get that too. And there's plenty of people who can say whatever they want about the review of it, like, or, you know, whatever kind of consensus they want to have for it. But I don't really mind it, to be honest. So this Rotten Tomatoes, the site consensus reads, GBF explores high school relationship dynamics and teen stereotypes with a refreshingly humorous touch and smartly subtle smarts, which is nice. But I also think, like, let me see, that seems like it's nice. Let me see what the mean one says. Oh no, it does. Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice to have, though. I thought for some reason it was going to be ruder for some reason. Who knows? But there are some people who didn't like this. I mean, you have like, ew, Rex Reed, really? I guess I've seen worse teen sex comedies, but it's rare to encounter one this stupid. Okay, fuck you. Like, whatever. That's so stupid. Director Darren Stein, so Scott Marks from San Diego Reader. Director Darren Stein's frequently on-target satire had me laughing enough to keep it interesting. So that's like kind of a not rotten review, but like it's not that bad. But yeah, I think other people seem to like this though, which is nice, fun, lovely. So this is directed by Darren Stein. As I said, it was already it was his third directorial movie. So he had done a documentary on his like kind of own life, Put the Camera on Me, I believe, but he also did Jawbreaker as his second directorial venture, and he did Sparkler, which is his feature film debut, and this is his third film, and he hasn't really directed since then. He's done producing and stuff like that. Like he produced All About Evil, and he's produced a couple different things. He's wrote few different things as well, so it's always cool to see that. Yeah, what else did he like write and stuff like that? Let me see. Let's look up my buddy Darren. Hold on. So, because I want to see what else he directed all these, and then he wrote a bunch of stuff as well. He wrote Seeds of Yesterday, which is part of the Flowers in the Attic trilogy, the new one, which I appreciate. And yeah, he did produce All About Evil, the Peaches Christ film, which is cool. George Northy, so he actually, and you'll hear a little bit about you'll hear about how he made the story and how it got into the hands of Darren's, got into Darren's hands for him to direct. But he's known for this movie pretty much. I would say so. I think it's safe to say. But yeah, it was just a queer guy writing a queer story. So love that for him. Composer of this movie is Brian H. Kim. So he has done like Spoiler Alert, which is a little gay movie with Jim Parsons in it. He did also Hello, My Name is Doris as well. He did the music for that. And cinematographer is Jonathan Hall. The only thing I have on him, my little sheet on him, is that he was the cinematographer for Zombievers, which honestly, listen, I'm more than okay with that. If you haven't already checked out Zombievers, do yourself a favor, because that movie is fucking lit. He's done some other things too, but honestly, Zombievers, like, let's be real. I mean, that's the ticket right there, my dude. Come on. Let's see who else is there. Editor is Philip J. Bartel. He's done a couple different things. He did All the Boys I've Loved Before, and also The Haunted Mansion, the new one. He also did Dear White People, Bad Hair as well. And he also was the editor for the I Am Divine documentary, which is great. Oh, and he also edited a couple of the Eating Out movies as well. And guess what? He also wrote a couple of those too. So, because I'm pretty sure he wrote and directed a lot of those actually. Or he at least did the second one. He directed the second one, but he's written a lot of those other sequels to Eating Out. So, that's cool. I like that. Let's see, who else? Michael Fitzgerald is the production designer. What did he do? Do anything fun? He did an Eating Out movie. Little things here and there, I think, but nothing too insane. And again, you'll find out a little bit more about the production of this movie as well. Who's this? Kit Scarborough. Oh, God. So she did the costume design of this film, which actually isn't too bad, but let me tell you something. She also did the costume design for a little movie called Veronica from 2019 that was directed by Glenn Danzig. It is a piece of shit. Oh God, it all makes sense, but that's okay. We still love you, Kit. We love you for GBF. Maybe not so much for Veronica, but you need to go check, girl. I get it. Oh, and fun little thing too. Oh, so Gage Hubbard, who is also known as Gage Munster. He's like a social media makeup dude. He did the makeup for this movie. So he did this. What else did he do? Oh, did he do The Curse of La Llorona, which was like a horror movie that kind of got shat upon, but he did do that makeup as well. He did he did Cabin Fever Patient Zero, which I think is the third movie in that series. And did he do Bit? Oh, he did the movie Bit as well, which is that movie from Brad Michael Elmore. That's like, oh, yeah. It's like a fun little, it's a trans girl story, and it's like a vampire story or some shit. Yeah, I never even... Ooh, it has Nicole Maines. Nicole Maines, if you don't know. I'm going all over the place here, but she is actually a little activist, if you will. Because she was somebody who was a part of this Supreme Court case about transgender folks using the bathrooms that they want to use and shit. So she's part of that, but she's also on the second season of Yellow Jackets, which it took me forever, but I did finally finish the last episode of the second season. It just took me a couple months, but it's fine. Anyway, I'm trying to see if there's anybody else. Like, nothing that I can think of right now, though. I mean, like I said, those are all like the... Oh, and of course, you'll hear this too in the upcoming interview I did. This movie also has a bunch of executive producers. Because like I said a little earlier, this movie was made for low budget. So, one of the ways you're able to get money for a movie is kind of throwing... getting people to throw their names on it for executive producer to get you the money. So that is why there are a bunch of different executive producers on this movie, I would say. So, yeah. And then we go into our cast. So our cast is made up of like Michael J. Willett, who plays Tanner. So he is from United Sisters of Terra, which I had not finished. I would like to go out and watch it, actually. I did start it, and I love Toni Collette so much, of course. But I've just been a bad person, and I just haven't watched it. But it's okay. We all make mistakes, and we all have to learn from them. But anyway, but yeah, so he's also in this too, and this is also his feature film debut, which is cool. And he hasn't really done a whole lot of films since then as well. But where are you, Paul J. Willett? Where are you, Michael J? I called you Paul J. Willett. Wow. Where are you, Michael J. Willett? We miss you. Like, you're so cute. Like, what the hell? Paul Icono, as well. He plays the other boy in this. What's his name? Brent Van Camp. What a fucking name, dude. He is from The Hard Times of R.J. Berger, which was an MTV show. So that's what he did back in the day. But he was also in the Fame remake, which is where he actually met Miss Megan Mullally, who is also in this movie. He's also in Return to Sleepaway Camp as well, which is kind of fun. Yeah, he's had a little career. Also, Paul Icono, where the hell are you, dude? Like, we miss you. We love you. I do not know how to say her last name. Sasha Piertz or Pietrice, whatever. You'll hear it later. She's from X-Men First Class. She was also in Geek Charming, which was a little like Disney Channel movie, and also Shark Boy and Lava Girl as well. She was in that movie, and she's in PLL. She's in Pretty Little Liars as well. So, any of you PLL stans out there, you probably knew Fawcett from this film. You probably seen her in PLL. And then Andrea Bowen, who plays Shlee, or Ashley, but she goes by Shlee. Northy, the Mormon. She was in Bambi 2, which is like a direct-to-video sequel to Bambi, and also Girl Positive, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the Lifetime original movie. Bitch, as you already know, of course, I know these things. Girl Positive is where a girl, a popular high school girl finds out a boy she slept with is HIV positive, and she's the lead bitch. Ooh, girl, I remember watching that. It has Jenny Garth in it. Ooh, it's so good. Sorry. And it has Eric Von Denton in it, and it has Esapatha Murkinson from Pee-wee's Playhouse and Law and Order. She's in there as well. Ooh, girl, I was getting my life with this movie. I'm sorry. This was definitely a Lifetime original movie. Love that, though. Love that. Oh, and she was also in a Noah Baumbach movie. I don't know how I feel about Noah Baumbach. Listen, he is from, he did the Barbie movie with his wife, Greta Gerwig. Okay, I get it. He was also married to Jennifer Jason Leigh for like a long time. And you know what? I just don't know how I feel about it. Because the fact, how you could just how y'all could just divorce Jennifer Jason Leigh. Whatever. I'm just some gay with a microphone, whatever, it's fine. But also, we got to move on to Zosha Rockmore, who also has the best name, by the way, who plays Caprice in this movie, who is she's so good. She was in Precious, she's in this movie, she is in The Disaster Artist, which is the fucking weird ass, what is it, Joaquin Phoenix music? No, James Franco. Sorry, how dare I do that to Joaquin Phoenix? James Franco did that stupid movie. I'm sorry, I've not seen it, but I'm sure it's maybe not that good. It's about the room. Yeah, Zosha Rockmore, we fucking love her. Anyway, and then like JoJo was in this movie, like Leave Get Out JoJo. Fucking random, but like kind of awesome though. She had been in like Aquamarine, and she was in like RV, which is a movie, and being a fucking icon, and like getting out of her horrible like record contract, and like re-releasing all of her own music before Taylor Swift did it. Don't come for me, Swifties, but I'm just saying. Yeah, who else is in this movie? Megan Mullally, of course, plays Brent's mom, which she had worked with him on Fame, the remake. I mean, she's fucking from Will and Grace, obviously, but she's just like Megan Mullally. Like, come on now, like. Ivana Lynch, who is also in this movie, she plays Mackenzie, who's like a homophobe. She's from Harry Potter, Luna Lovegood. Taylor Frey, who's also a gay, because the two leads of this movie are actually queer in real life. He is from he was an actual Mormon who almost got kicked out of college for being gay. He was in It Chapter 2 in the beginning. He's doing a couple different little things here and there. I love that for him. We love seeing gays do good. Oh, and then you also have like Natasha Lyonne is in here as well. Of course, we like Natasha Lyonne for her work, if anything, so love that. And we also have the fun little thing of Rebecca Gayheart's in this movie. Love that for her. And then also Jonathan Silverman, who is from Weekend at Bernie's, who is not Andrew McCarthy, I guess, who is not him. The other guy who is in Weekend at Bernie's, he plays the dad of Tanner, which is fun. Oh, and also, fun little thing too, Anne Russo, who has been in all of Darren Stein's movies to this point. So Anne Russo plays the German teacher in this movie, which is a very small little role. But she, if you didn't already know this, Anne Russo, she is actually the goth chick in Jawbreaker. So she's the one who, like, when if you remember that beautiful piece of cinema where Marcy is cracking an egg in home ec, and she gets a bloody egg, like a bloody yolk, and this girl says, "Cool, you've got a stillborn." She sticks her finger in it. That's Anne Russo. So yeah, just a little something. She's also the same person who like is trying to use the bathroom, and then the girl's all like, the girl with the short hair is all like, "I'm sorry, this is reserved," for Violet or whatever, and like the goth girl who shows up like at the prom later, that's all Anne Russo. We love her. But yeah, she's in this movie, so that's really fun. But yeah. But that's a little bit about like the cast and the crew of this movie. So normally on the show, I do a bunch of production history or anything like that. But I thought today what I would do is I would have a little somebody come on the show that could tell me a little bit more about GBF as a movie, because guess what? He directed it. So you know him for his directorial efforts for the movie Sparkler, Jawbreaker, GBF. You also have seen him on Boulet Brothers Dracula. You've seen him. He's produced All About Evil, so many different things. But please welcome to my show today, the one and only Mr. Darren Stein. Darren Stein, how are you doing today? I don't even know what to call you.
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for
I'm
that introduction.
Of course. Oh my God. I literally just called you like, okay, so I'm just calling you Darren, I guess. This is fine
That's
with me.
good.
This is kind of like a dream for my little kid self because I grew up with Jawbreaker, of course, as a lot of gay boys did. So for you to be on my show is super, super wonderful. And I thank you for being here. So to kind of cut through everything, I guess, what I would want to know. So I'm covering GBF today, as I already stated. What I want to know from you, and of course, you've probably done this at least a decade ago now because the movie's celebrating 10 years. By the time you guys are hearing this, it'll be in January. So still around that time. It actually, did the movie come out on VOD in January of the next year? Because it premiered in 2013, right?
Yeah, I think it premiered in film festivals,
Yeah.
and then it came out, and then it had a small theatrical, and
Mm.
then it came out on DirecTV actually for had an exclusive.
Oh, look
So
at
first
that.
it was on DirecTV, and then it was on Netflix for 4 years.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So yeah, so around that time, but you're still within that little, it's been a decade now, which is crazy for me to think. But what I want to know from you, is, you can find some of this stuff online, I'm sure, like on a Wikipedia or whatever. But how did this script get in your hands, and what made you want to try to go direct it and end up directing it?
I was doing these directing these stage readings for Outfest for the LA Gay Lesbian Film Festival, and GBF was one of the five scripts one year, and someone thought I would be a good match for it. Specifically, I think it was Guinevere Turner who wrote American Psycho. And so when I heard Guinevere was matching me with something, I thought, oh, it's going to be something dark. I'm excited to see what this is, and it was actually GBF, which was not dark at all. I really love the script. I thought it had such an original voice. And I always love when a teen movie can do something new with a genre that we haven't seen yet, a movie that just felt completely fresh. And I just told the writer I wanted to option it to direct it. And it was his first screenplay he had ever written. His name is George Northy. He was working in advertising in New York.
Mhm.
I think he watched Mean Girls and learned to structure the film off of the beats from Mean Girls. But I just loved the voice, and it felt like something that similar to my voice in a way, without, I guess, a darker aspect to it. But, in Jawbreaker, over the years, so many gay kids have related to films like Heathers and Jawbreaker and sort of the Mean Girl, Stockard Channing in Grease, the Rizzo, and to see a film where the gay kid gets to be part of that slow motion walk just felt right. You know what I mean? And it felt like a,
Mhm.
a wish fulfillment moment.
I
And
totally get that.
yeah, and the fact that the film is also about something about not commodifying people and treating them as
Yeah.
individuals, and not treating them as GBFs or whatever you want to use.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where it came from. It came from just Outfest. I have to thank Outfest for the screenplay.
Right, right. Even though I think Outfest has had some controversies a little bit
Yeah.
recently. However, at least back then they were having, we want to bring that up a little bit, but doing good work, putting gay people out there in films. Great. Love it. Even with its shortcomings. But that's cool to hear, that it really just came from some queer guy wrote a script and then it got in your hands,
Mhm.
and that's what I think is cool, because you've also mentioned, I also have like two copies of Jawbreaker on Blu-ray, one of which is the 20th anniversary. And also, by the time you're hearing this, happy birthday, Jawbreaker, as well. It's 25 years old. It's crazy. But I remember on your disc where you had the commentary with the cast and you talking about how like y'all were talking about this, but like you also did not set out to make a queer film with Jawbreaker. Many people have read into it, but you were just trying to make a movie. So like, and it just so happened it worked out that way. But with this, it's really cool because you really did have like a queer script with queer characters, all that kind of stuff. So, all right, it gets into your hands. You're like, all right, I'm going to option this. You had already produced All About Evil from Peaches Christ, which if you haven't already done so, please go listen to Horror Queers, where I'm on there with them talking about it. But at least we loved it, of course. It's great. And then Vertical Entertainment was the one who distributed this, right? Like they were the production company. So take me through a little bit of just like, how did the casting process come about? Like, how did you know that you wanted to cast the folks you did? Was it just like a regular, like, let's see who's in LA and try and get them, or all of that? Because obviously, once you option the film and you can hopefully get some money, some capital to do it, you want to try and cast it. So tell me a little bit about just some of the casting, perhaps, if you had any sort of fun stories with that or anything.
Yeah, well, funnily, when we did the readings at Outfest, when we were trying to raise money for the movie, Raven Simone played Caprice. So Raven was, and she wanted to do it for the film. So Raven was going to play Caprice, and she ended up deciding that she had just done like Sister Act on Broadway. Debbie Allen invited her to Australia to go hang out, and she chose to
As
go
you
hang out.
do.
So she chose to go hang out with Debbie Allen rather than make GBF, which actually worked out really well because there was a certain actress called Zosha Rockmore.
She's so good in this movie.
She's so good. She's so good.
Like what? Like what I also love is that the roots that you have with Jawbreaker is that you have these people in their 20s playing this. She's like
Mhm,
the oldest actress in this, but
mhm.
goddamn, like she's so good. And she needs better roles. She needs roles. I'm just saying. I mean, Caprice was amazing, but like keep
She's
working,
coming out.
girl.
She's coming out in a Marvel movie. She just did her first Marvel movie.
Hell yes,
That's
please.
that's huge. Yeah.
But yeah,
But we looked at that because I remember when Zosha sent in her audition tape. I was like, oh fuck, I really love this. Is the girl who played she was in the movie Precious.
and
She
she
was
was
like
on the Mindy
that was
Project as
after
well.
that was after GBF. Yeah.
Okay, but then she ended up doing that, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what about like your male leads? So we have Michael J. Willett and then
Yes.
Paula
Well, it was really
Cano.
important for us to make sure that the gay characters were played by gay actors. I thought that was really
Sure.
important. And it was hard to find Tanner. It was really, really hard because there's not that many gay actors
That are
or
out.
out gay actors. And and then there's not many out gay actors that mean anything. You want to get sort of a quote unquote name, whatever. But Michael J. Willett had done United States of Tara, which was incredible.
Yes.
He is so charming. He is Tanner. He's like that everyman. He's that character, that kid at the school who's like flying under the radar. You could just see him being that role. And so we really lucked out. And he's so like adorable and like likable. Like it was kismet that we got Michael. He's perfect. And then Paul Iacano, who plays Brent, had done RJ Berger on MTV.
Yes. Yes.
And he's so sassy and he's so funny. He's such a queen in the best way. And he was perfect for Brent. So we really lucked out with him. And then the kid who plays the gay Mormon,
Topher.
Topher, his name's Taylor, and he's actually a gay Mormon in real life.
Hmm.
That was perfect because literally.
Also Kyle Dean Massey's husband from Broadway. That's literally his husband. It's so funny because you gave Michael J. Willett his one and only film credit, by the way. He never done a film before.
I
He
can't
only
believe
did
that.
TV.
I can't believe that.
It
That's
literally, I think he only did TV, and then the GBF is his only film credit that's on his Wikipedia and any of that stuff. So I was like, that's crazy. But then Taylor, like you're talking about, he then went on. So he had done a TV movie. So I think this was like his feature film.
Mhm.
And then he went into a little movie called It Chapter 2, where he also played a gay guy who gets gay bashed.
Saw that.
With
Yep.
Yeah, which is crazy because as you know, you love horror. I'm also a horror
Mhm.
head. So
Mhm.
to see somebody you worked with and
We love to see it. Yeah.
even in that role that's so jarring and hard, of course, but he did it in such a way. Also, anybody who doesn't already know this, the guy who plays the actual guy who dies, that is also that guy's Xavier Dolan, I think his name is. He directed 2 Adele music videos, everybody. So that little kid, like, that's kind of weird, but I found that out in my research today. I was like, okay, go off. But yeah, no, he's such an asshole in this movie. Like, but he kind of has to be because he's like closeted, but he's kind of perfect though. He's so smarmy, but like it works really well. And his lived experience is that he almost got kicked out of college for being gay. So
Yeah.
like that's a whole crazy thing. And then of course the girls, as you said, Zosha is like amazing. I don't even know where Ashley Bowen came from. Like she just was, I guess, TV actor, you
Yeah,
know.
she was in Desperate Housewives.
Oh,
And
true, true.
she had done some, musical theater or some plays on Broadway or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
funny. She's so charming. She's
Mhm.
hilarious. I think she's
She's really
perfect
funny.
as Shlee. And then Sasha Pieterse is from Pretty Little Liars. She was Allison.
Yes. Yes.
And she was just the perfect faucet, And so
Mhm.
I feel like all the girls just kind of fell into place. And then JoJo, we
Yes.
cast because she's fucking JoJo. And
I mean,
we
duh. Like, how could you not? You would have to leave and get out if you didn't, is what
thank
I'm
you.
saying.
Thank you. I like
Listen.
that. That pun was perfect.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, because I feel like I love that we get to continue her, cinema sort of experience from Aquamarine. I love that.
Yes. Yes. And then also, yes, and then also finding out like after the fact too of like her whole horror with her music career, but
Oh,
she's been able to also really take back it, which is really cool.
yeah, she's
I
not
love
bad.
JoJo so
Yeah, I just
much.
saw her on Broadway in Moulin Rouge. She was incredible. I went backstage,
Yes.
like we're buddies, and she's great, and she's a
I
great
bet.
actress. I mean, how good is she?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
she's one of the best moments of the movie when she's like a real live homosexual. It's so funny.
It's so stupid, and that's the thing is that this movie, it's not like not in a
Campy.
bad
Yeah,
way, not a
yeah,
pejorative. It's
yeah,
campy. It's
yeah.
supposed to be.
Supposed to be over the top.
Yeah.
And then Ivana Lynch, who plays, the
Um,
mean Christian girl,
whatever her name is, right?
Envy or something. Yeah, she was great. I mean, an actress, having Luna Lovegood in your film was pretty cool. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think, and then we got Natasha Lyonne, Megan Mullally, Rebecca
Yeah.
Gayheart,
I
you
kind
know.
of wonder with that too. So I know, of course, like Rebecca is one of your movies. I want her to make her comeback too.
Mm.
I'm waiting on it. Megan Mullally is obviously a great get as well. Where did Jonathan Silverman come in? How did that happen?
I think that, I was a fan of his from his 80s movies. I always like
Sure.
when I think it's fun in kind of campy teen films to sort of be referential in your casting. And
Yeah.
having grown up with 80s movies, Silverman was like definitely on my radar from that decade, and he's hilarious. So,
Yeah.
so him and Rebecca together were so funny.
Oh my
Horatio,
God.
we
Yes.
got through Natasha. I think he was friends with Natasha Lyonne.
Right.
I got
That's fair.
Natasha. I had produced All About Evil, so I knew
Mhm.
Natasha from that. And so she was
Yes.
really sweet and gracious to do the film.
Yeah.
And then Megan, we got through Paul Iacono because Paul and Megan had done the
Mhm.
Fame remake.
Oh,
So,
right.
so Paul called Megan and was like, "Will you do a couple days in this movie?" And she loved the script. And oh my God, how great is she in the movie?
She's so funny. She's like the runaway like hit of it because she's ridiculous. But that's perfect because she's Karen, like obviously, and she knows that. Yeah, no, the casting in this is like it's really iconic, honestly. Like it just works. Now, I've also heard just that this was a labor of love for you guys because if I'm not mistaken, I think y'all had to do a Kickstarter during production because everybody, it's hard to make a movie out here, y'all. Okay. It happens. But like, but tell me a little bit about just like getting that casting and all that. But then also, what was like the filming like? I guess if you want to explain like why you did have to do a Kickstarter in the middle, is fine.
Yeah,
But like also, what was the filming process like? Like, you did
yeah, yeah.
Jawbreaker in a month. So you're like, let's see what
Yeah,
happens.
I'm used to making films on a low budget. Jawbreaker, the budget was $3.5 million at a time when teen films were being made for between, 7 and 15 million.
Oh, yeah.
So So Jawbreaker was made by Sony Pictures, which is Columbia and TriStar, but it was actually financed by the home video division of Sony. So
Right.
Jawbreaker was the first production of Columbia TriStar Home Video, which
Right.
is why we had a smaller budget, which is why we had
Right.
30 days to shoot it, and which is why it was
Mhm.
released only on 800 screens and not 2,000, 1,500 screens like everything else.
Right, because it was supposed to go to home video. It wasn't really supposed to be theatrical, right?
Well, I think we always wanted
Mm,
it to be theatrical. The business model was made for home video. Like they knew that
right.
it could recoup its money in home video. But because the film turned out so well, oh yeah, what ended up happening with Jawbreaker is that it ended up getting into Sundance. And that I think gave the studio sort of like faith for the theatrical after that,
I got it.
which is ironic because it went from Sundance to getting panned by the critics,
Right.
but to becoming a cult classic. So I'll take it.
Exactly. There you go. I did my first episode on that. But anyway, back to GBF though. Like, kind of what was the filming of that like? And, you
Okay,
know,
yeah. So GBF, having made Jawbreaker and seen it succeed, I really wanted GBF to, have follow a similar trajectory. But we had a fraction of the budget of Jawbreaker. I mean, we made GBF for $450,000. So it was like close to $500,000. So it was nothing, nothing. So like all the locations were favors. Like I got like Fawcett's house was like that bedroom was like my mom's friend's house in the valley. Tanner's house was like my cousin's house in Santa Monica. Brent's house was my childhood friend Justin's house in Santa Monica. Prom, we got a great nightclub in Hollywood, but we had to give, the guy from the club a co-producer credit to shoot there for 3 days. But we got all their lighting. That's why the prom scene looks so big because it's a huge nightclub with this great lighting.
what's funny, I
Yeah.
wondered why there were so many producer credits on here.
Yeah.
And now I can understand why, because,
Yeah.
all right, cool. Good to know.
Yeah, because everyone's like literally putting in like 2,000 here, 5,000 there location.
Literally.
It's literally cobbled together. And then as far as the Kickstarter, we got through production. We had enough money to shoot the film. Then we had to raise more money to finish post production on the film. So we did that, and we got some more money. I mean, with the biggest cost, what ended up costing the most money on the entire film was the music, because if you watch the movie, it has a kind of banging soundtrack,
Yeah.
And I really wanted, for me, in the teen films that I grew up with, a big part of the takeaway is like, oh, the music and, getting, play the soundtrack afterwards and all that. And so we got Tegan and Sarah, and I wanted it to be timeless, like, modern, but also referential of different time periods. And so there's everyone from Blur to Tegan and Sarah to Ellie Goulding to like a shoegaze cover of Spandau Ballet's True,
Mm-hmm.
The Prom. There's so many great tracks, and we had a music supervisor who kind of promised a certain price for things, but he kind of like misled, and so we ended up having to pay a lot of extra money for music that we weren't really counting on.
Right.
I think when we were editing the movie, the editor put in the Ellie Goulding song over that montage, over the makeover montage, and that song had just come out. It was called Anything Can Happen, and I was like, okay, this fits perfectly, but there's no way
But
we're
it's
going to.
pricey, right?
Yeah, I was like, thank you for putting the song in, so now I will now hear what I can't have.
Right.
But I guess we can find something in that style, because when you edit a film, you kind of have your dream idea, and then you put in a placeholder and you find something affordable or something original that you can replicate. And then we ended up just getting the rights to Ellie fucking Goulding, and it is in the movie to this day. So that's really amazing.
Yeah, no, and it's so true, because at a time too, what's interesting is that soundtracks were not as much of a thing in 2013, just because of that. But yeah, I do think that the music of this movie is very much of the time, which isn't a terrible thing. The same thing can be said for Jawbreaker. The same can be said for any of the John Hughes movies, like any of these things. It kind of lives in that, time that was made. And so, yeah, no, totally. That's very fair.
Yeah, I think because I come from that, I'm Gen X.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want to, and I got us a CD release on Lakeshore Records. There's a proper soundtrack. You can buy the soundtrack on iTunes. And that meant a lot to me. And, I really wanted the film to feel like it could compete with any other teen film out there. I did not want this to feel indie or like cheap looking or like lesser in any way. And I think the film really looks incredible, and you would never know that it costs so little.
I wouldn't have known that. I literally thought, because the internet lied to me, that it costs like at least $1 million or more. And the fact that it was under that, I mean, doesn't look half bad for that. Shoot, like the way I look at it.
I think it says somewhere on the internet that it costs 3 million or 3.5, and it costs 400.
That's what I had in my notes, and I guess I was wrong.
I love how the internet just decides what things cost because somebody thinks they know.
They're like, no, that's actually how much Jawbreaker costs, though. Get it right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. So the filming of that. So again, it was kind of a journey, if you will, I'm sure. I'm sure the filming actually was fine. It was just actually everything else was a journey. Now what about the release of the film? So as you stated, I'll let you talk about it, but it released at a film festival. And then how do you feel about the release and like the reception of the film, I guess, if you want to speak to that a little bit? And, you know, because again, you have your movie, okay, great, it's all finished. Now we got to see what actually people think about it.
Well, the movie premiered at Tribeca, which was great. It was really well received. We got the distribution deal with Vertical Entertainment. They had this thing where we did a small theatrical, so it was really released in I think 8 or 9 major cities. And then DirecTV had this exclusive, and they ran a full page ad in Entertainment Weekly, which is pretty cool. And then it was on Netflix for 4 years, and so that was really kind of amazing because at the time, 10 years ago, Netflix was sort of like the blockbuster. It's like where you saw everything, right? This is before HBO Max, it's before Hulu, and
Right. Right. This is
yeah,
when they were doing their originals and Natasha Lyonne was on an original program of theirs. So, it all kind of worked out. But yeah, no, totally.
no, but she did Orange is the New Black after GBF. Yeah. Yeah, I
Huh.
remember when Natasha and I were on the way to a premiere at the Castro in San Francisco. And she's like, and we were in the back of this car and she was like, "Oh, I just got this job on
Right.
Netflix is making original programming now. I don't know, something called Orange is the New Black, a women in prison thing. It's all I know is it's
Yes.
Genji Cohan and she's good, she's cool, so I don't know, Netflix. Who would have thought they'd be doing series?
And then you're like, oh, never mind that, I guess.
Um,
Girl, of course.
Now, but she's obviously, and I feel really good to have been part of her. Like we cast her in All About Evil when nobody was casting her.
Because she was a
I
liability, really. I mean, I love Natasha Lyonne, but like, yeah, she was seen as a liability because she was into drugs for a while. So, it was like, this is nothing that is out of the ordinary, but like the fact that she got in better graces and all that. And now she's like, fuck it, like she has like a Peacock show. She like all this shit. And the fact that she was like, yeah, I'll come do your movie.
she's great. Yeah, but this is before. No, but GBF was before Orange is the New Black. So
I think so. Yeah. It was like right
she did not
after
have
that.
her. She didn't have the huge resurgence yet. But anyway,
True, true, true.
it found its audience on Netflix, which is great
Mm.
because I feel like every gay kid all over the country, all over the world, could see GBF, and so the
Yeah.
movie really got a really great exposure.
Yeah. No,
And
totally. For
and
sure.
it got great reviews. It has like an 80%, 80 something on Rotten Tomatoes.
It does.
Kind of unheard of considering Jawbreaker has like a much lower score.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
You're kind of like, what happened?
well, I'll tell you what happened. What happened was Jawbreaker was ahead of its time. All the
Mm.
critics back then in the fucking 99 were like straight heterosexual older men who
Yeah.
didn't get what Jawbreaker was.
We see you, Roger. Okay. Listen.
Roger Ebert hated it.
Oh, I know him and that guy. You know what's funny? Just funny is that guy, Siskel. He died like not too long after, and he literally it was like the last movie he like reviewed, and I'm like, well, oh well,
That's what you get.
like that's what you get. No,
Sure.
he was such a hater on it, but yeah, but you're right. Like it probably got better reception because in 2013 you have people who kind of get it, and again people could do that. Now do you think, if anything, with that, is there anything that you think you would have done differently on the production, or do you think there are things in this movie that don't age the best just because it was from 10 years ago, or do you feel like for the
I
most part
mean,
it
there's
stays all
like
right?
one little aside that Paul Iacono says about wonton. It's like an Asian slur.
Yeah.
It's not great. But
Yeah.
aside from that, I don't think anything's that bad. Like Rice Queen, whatever. It's not
Mm,
terrible. It's not the best. But I think the film represents its moment in time. I mean, the
yeah.
one comment was way more like 80s John Hughes comedy. That didn't work.
Right.
That probably shouldn't have been there at all.
You're like, oh shit, oops.
I'll own up to that. But aside from that, I think the film ages pretty well. You
Yeah,
know,
I think so too. What I like is that in the beginning, when you're introducing the girls, like Caprice is like the queen of the diversity people. So like people could criticize that this movie, and of course I'm just like a white man, like, whatever. But like, you could criticize, oh, it doesn't have enough diversity in it or whatever. I'm like, I mean, it's supposed to be kind of funny, and like also you do mention that like Caprice is kind of like the queen of the theater, she's the queen of this, and also like the underrepresented people because she is a black woman, and I'm like,
Yeah,
whatever,
but
like
by the
I'm
way, like
taking my disbelief, you know.
yeah, none of these films with these mean girls had a black girl in that main crew, except
No, they
for
didn't.
Kraft was ahead of its time.
True, Rachel True, we love her, but
That
like
was
yeah,
major.
exactly.
That was major that the Kraft did that. But
Absolutely.
Kraft is racist in its own ways.
It
And
is true. And also the treatment of her after it, not
yes,
the best. So
yes.
it's like, these things about like teen films, especially, when it comes down to it, they kind of live in their time that they're released a lot of the time and all that. But I do agree that for the most part with GBF, like if you take that out of it or if that offends you or whatever, that's fair. But at the same time, I'm like, no, this is just a story about these two young men and one's kind of thrown into this thing and he makes do with it. And it's not a
Oh,
romance either, which is kind
yeah.
of cool. It's about these best friends, which is
Yeah,
really
but
nice.
it still gives you some romantic comedy feels, which is nice.
I agree.
And
Totally.
Caprice is celebrated in this. Like she's such a
She
queen. Like
is.
she's given full queen treatment.
Yeah. No,
There's another,
totally.
there's another cringy moment actually when
Oh God.
when Megan Mullally is like something about, oh yeah, boys don't cry. She's like, this one's about a girl who wants to be a boy. I don't.
Oh gosh.
And she says something like, good luck with that, or I don't know. It's a little bit bad.
She says that, but like it's nothing too bad.
No,
Listen, I'll tell you this much. I'll tell you this much. Listen, Ryan Murphy used the T slur in an episode of Glee. That was weird. The Rocky Horror one, and I know you're a Rocky Horror head too, so I love
yeah.
it as well. And yeah, I was like, yeah, that's weird. So at least you didn't do that, I guess. You know what I mean?
No, no,
But
I
these are
yeah.
always things that are going to come up for sure. You never
Yeah,
know.
because you have to remember, like, GBF was before gender exploded. It was
I was
before
in college, and yeah, I'll say
the
that.
whole. Because guess
Yeah.
what? If it had, there would have been a trans character in it, no question whatsoever.
Oh, completely.
Uh,
Yeah. No. Yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely its moment. But I'm so glad that that it holds up. We've had it.
Yeah.
It's been cool because we've had like 10th anniversary screenings in San Diego, in
Hmm.
Tulsa, and in Austin, and the
Right.
audience has loved it, and it's still hilarious. I think it's really
Yeah.
fun, and I think the critics liked it so much because it's giving you all those movie beats. It's like structurally very sound, and it's
Hmm.
politically smart, and it's
Yeah.
and it's a pure comedy. Jawbreaker, I would not say is a pure comedy.
No.
It's more of a
Dark
subversive.
comedy.
It's dark and it's a subversive cult movie. It's not meant to be for everyone. Whereas
No.
GBF, I think, really is. It's much more of a mainstream vibe, which I think, the
Yeah.
critic, there's more to sort of sink your teeth into for a
Yeah,
mainstream.
I agree with that for sure. And I know you've also been candid about telling that like it felt a certain way about the fact that this movie got rated an R when really when you think about it and for all intents and purposes, it really is a movie that probably could have gone away with a PG-13 if you took some of the lines out, maybe there were innuendos. But then also I think you even said before, like, if straight people get to have their innuendos, why can't gays have theirs? But because it's gay, it's like, oh, can't do that.
The fact that GBF got an R is so ridiculous.
Yeah. Because I could
But
see you were going for like a PG-13. I'm like, oh no, this
and
would
there's not
work.
even a single F word in the movie.
There isn't.
And there's no nudity, there's no violence, there's no
Yeah.
breasts. I mean, I think it's because, but the slang is like, fuck, the slang goes hard.
Yeah, it does. And also you use the F slur, which again, I'm not above using the F slur. I use it myself sometimes, whatever. But it makes sense to the story, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, but it does go hard a little bit, and you're just like, eh. But again, I mean, I think that's fine. It's of its time. It's something where, and I'm not critiquing that or like analyzing it really, but it's more so just like, oh, that's just what it was, and yeah,
The slang references gay sex constantly.
right.
And so the idea of gay sex is pervasive in the movie
Right.
through, gay slang.
It's
And
not Heartstopper, you know what I mean? I get that. So you're like, it wasn't supposed to be either.
I think
That's the thing.
that's part of why I love a script because it had a real bite, it had a real edge.
Mhm.
And that's part of why I love a script is because it kind of takes you to that like there's like a horny closeted gay Mormon who's trying to seduce other boys and kissing them. And it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it funny how for heterosexuals, like kissing can be almost as offensive as gay sex? You know what I'm saying? It's like two guys
Right.
kissing, they don't want to see that. And now, and this movie has three different kisses.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's not, there's plenty of fun innuendo, suggestion going on, which is, I think,
Yeah.
important.
Which is part of a teen movie. That's part of what you get when you have that,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Why do the heterosexuals get to kiss? Why can't,
Hmm.
the gay characters? So I think that's why this movie also I think is important. And I think
Absolutely.
was that really life-changing for a lot of young queer people when they saw it.
Yeah. I mean, for all intents and purposes, people can critique it for whatever they want to, but at the end of the day, even just like recently, Trace from Horror Queers, he watched this movie, I think with his husband. He actually really likes it. He gave it a 4.5, and he's like, I don't know why this movie hasn't gotten its Heather's Mean Girls Jawbreaker like cult treatment. And I was like, oh, don't worry, I think it is. Like, I think it kind of has. If you want to speak to a little bit of like, do you feel like, what do you think the legacy of this film has been? Or what would you want it to have been, or whatever, if you want to speak to the legacy, because it is 10 years old, it's going
I
to it's
I
going to
I
middle school, and all
Yeah,
that. Like,
I'm
yeah.
very happy where it is at 10 years. I feel like the fact that it just screened in three different festivals across the
Hmm.
country says it all. I mean, if it didn't stand the test of time, if it didn't feel important to people,
Hmm.
it wouldn't screen three different places. So I do feel like and having watched it at one of those screenings, I was like, oh, this aged well. I wasn't sure because
Hmm.
it's called GBF, which is kind of
Right.
cringy title, really. So I mean,
You're right.
because that word doesn't even, but guess what? Culturally, there's still pieces in like Vulture and these significant magazines about, GBFs. It's still said, it's still a thing. We
Hmm.
haven't, the needle, I hate to say it, but in the last 10 years, the needle hasn't moved that far.
We're in hell, Darren Stein. We are in hell. But we're
I
just trying our best.
feel like the
Like,
needle's
it's,
gone a little in reverse, actually.
oh, it
So,
has.
yeah, so I think this film is still important,
I think so.
Um, it's a powerful piece, even though it's a campy comedy. It's actually a
Mhm.
lot deeper than that.
Yeah, I think it's as deep as you want it to be, but I
Yeah,
also think like, the fact that it is on Peacock, you can find it on Tubi. It's something where it's pretty accessible for people to get. And, again, for all intents and purposes, you can think of whatever you want about it. But I think overall, hopefully queer people like it. If anything, they kind of get the funny and just like how ridiculous the idea is anyway, but they can get something out of it and enjoy it.
yeah. I mean, it really burns me. It burns me that like GBF's on Peacock, but Jawbreaker's not streaming anywhere. It's like
It's hard when you get it. Sometimes it's on Tubi every so often. That's about it. But it
yeah,
doesn't. And yeah,
or it'll be on Shutter once in a while, or it'll be here and
right,
there. But like Sony never treated Jawbreaker like
right,
that. Because the thing is, or like Cruel Intentions, or like Can't Hardly Wait,
yeah,
because it was made by Columbia TriStar Video, and because it doesn't have the numbers that those other films have.
hmm,
But that being said, I I'm writing a Jawbreaker movie musical remake for Columbia.
hmm,
So
yeah,
they still paid me to write this remake, which is really exciting. And we're now looking at cast and hopefully working
yeah.
on green light. But it's like, okay, but why isn't the movie on like Netflix, like or HBO Max? Like why am I not
Right.
out there? Why is GBF on Peacock?
Right, which is
So
fine, but like you're like, wait a minute, why isn't my other film there? You just got Sparkler out there, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah,
Sparkler's not even on streaming, but at least it's out there. You can rent it
yeah,
and you can
people can
buy
get
it,
it.
and I'm really proud of it. And that aged really well. And I was super
Yeah,
excited that the New Beverly, which is the Temple of Cinema in
yeah,
Los Angeles, did a double feature of Sparkler and Jawbreaker. That was
they
incredible.
did, they
That was,
did.
you don't get, filmmakers just don't get that. You don't get a double feature at the New Beverly very easily. You rarely
No,
see it.
not at all.
And they were both screened on 35 millimeter. It was really cool.
Hmm.
But I think
Okay.
because Jawbreaker, it wasn't a queer movie, it
No.
had a queer inherent queerness. And
Yes,
that's more cult and subversive than GBF. Because
I agree.
GBF wears its queerness on its sleeve. It's gay best friend, and it's
Hmm.
if you like Mean Girls and Easy A, you'll love it. But
Sure.
Jawbreaker isn't as easy to wrap your head around, which
What
I
I
love.
love about Jawbreaker, especially, and again, we're gonna start wrapping up soon, at least. But I think with that, like, it lives on its own planet, like Drop Dead Gorgeous lives, or like Psycho Beach Party, or something like that. Because you went into it wanting to make something that was heightened, make something that where your influences or could all come together. And I think at the time there were some people who liked it, but I think overall people were like, well, what the hell is this? Like, tonally this doesn't make sense. And I'm just like, Roger Ebert, you literally wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what?
That
It,
really hurt my feelings. The fact that he co-wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls or whatever, I was
right,
like A2 Brute, like you're gonna fucking stab a bitch in the back
weird.
when you made a campy movie yourself. But that being said, I get that though, because
Yeah.
it's like that whole mean gays thing of being like, you see another gay like you and you're like, oh,
Right.
yeah, wow. So I think that he'd
Oh
like,
my God.
but that being said, I was on a podcast a few years ago called Attack of the Queer Wolf. It was like a gay,
Yes.
and it was me and Rebecca McKendry, and she's like a horror director now.
Hmm.
She's also teaches horror at USC, a learned person on the horror subject.
She
And
has.
she pulled me aside and she's like, Darren, I want to tell you a funny story. She's like, I interviewed John Waters for Fangoria or something, several years ago,
Hmm.
10 years ago or something. And they're talking about 90s teen movies. And she was like, I love Drop Dead Gorgeous. And he's like, well, I love a film called Jawbreaker. Have you seen Jawbreaker? And so John Waters, she told me that John Waters was a fan of Jawbreaker. And that to me that was all I needed to hear,
Oh,
So fuck
completely.
Roger Ebert, because John Waters gets it.
Exactly. You know what? And I'm from Baltimore. I live in Baltimore.
Mhm.
So listen, all them people. So, totally. I can believe that, like, I think this movie is your most wholesome, if you will, of course.
Yes.
But
Well, it's
yeah,
because
I
I
think it
didn't, well, it's because I didn't write it.
exactly. You were like, I didn't write it. Oops. But yeah, no, I do think it is successful for what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
I think your spin on it is a fun one, if anything. Again, take it or leave it. But I hope that people do like it and they can take something from it, whether you like it or you hate it. I mean, whatever. But at the end of the day, like, you still did something with pretty much nothing, which is,
Yeah.
great.
And
But
I
yeah.
love the films that people love or hate. I don't like films that people are
Hmm.
like toast about. I think
Right.
films that get a strong reaction are always the
Of
most
course.
interesting
Yeah.
ones. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's everything I can think of right now. What I would like to, I also like how we just said fuck Roger Ebert, because you know what? He was good for what he did, but also I'm just like, some of the things I'm like, you really didn't like horror that much, really?
I know, but
But okay.
conversely though, I do think he was a brilliant critic, and like
Sure.
I love his reviews, and I mean, like,
Exactly.
Roger Ebert was a legend.
But you're
And
like, you didn't like my movie.
when I say fuck Roger Ebert, I mean that purely in association with my own personal butthurtness. That's all.
There you go. At least you're vulnerable about it. Listen, there you go. But so you already said kind of what's next. You're trying to get this in the vein of, first off, also, I like how this script also predicted the Mean Girls musical, which will be coming out soon. So love that. Oh, it's so
How
good.
weird is that? Is that
It's
funny?
so weird. Like, George Northy, he's like a psychic. But so you're optioning, to try to make the musical version of Jawbreaker and movie musical. I want you to get Judy Greer to be Miss Sherwood. Just
Oh yeah,
saying.
Judy. No, Judy already. I had lunch with her a few weeks ago, and she's on board for Miss Sherwood. Yeah,
She's like,
and
listen. So your
yeah,
first exclusive, everyone. If you're gonna be seeing this, you might see our girl get to do something.
yeah, Judy's. I love Judy. She's the best. And
She's
Fern
so
is now
good.
Vern. Fern is trans, and
See, that makes sense too.
but that happened not because I'm trying to be like culturally relevant. It's because
No,
Jawbreaker has a lot of trans fans
it
who
does.
saw Fern's transformation into Violet as a trans storyline. And so
Sure.
when I sent out those messages, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I'm just going to have Vern. Vern should be, she's going to transition him into Violet
Yeah.
from boy, well, Vern. And then,
Whatever. Yeah.
yeah, it's exciting. It's a really fun script. And the music's incredible. I really hope it
And then
gets.
people will be like, this is so woke, blah, 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 blah. And then be like, you don't fucking get it, y'all. Like, whatever, it's fine. But yeah, so besides, I guess that's kind of what you're doing and all. Anything else you have to
Yeah,
promote or anything,
I have another movie that I'm putting together called Aunt Max.
Mm-hmm.
Aunt Max is the most personal thing I've ever written. And it's about a very intense friendship, life-changing
Mm-hmm.
friendship that I had with this older woman. When I was coming out of the closet when I was like 21, she was like in her mid 40s. She and her husband
Mm-hmm.
were friends of my parents. They had kids in the Encino.
Mm-hmm.
She was an attorney and she had this huge full life. But she also had this like Rizzo energy, this like lawless,
Right, right.
crazy energy. And when I came home from college. She dragged me upstairs. I saw her at dinner at my parents' house. She's like, "Are you gay?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I knew it. We're gonna be best friends." And we became inseparable. And she became this like wing woman for me. And she would
Hmm.
like lie to her husband and say she was going to the law library and go to West Hollywood and party with me at the bars and go up to guys and be like, "My nephew thinks you're cute." So we tell people she was my aunt, but she wasn't my aunt. She was my mom's friend. But it's
Right.
basically like a gay Harold. No, it's like a yeah, gay Harold and Maude
A little
or
bit.
or an anti-mame. And we're going out with the talent right now. So we're talking about some fun names, to get to play Max.
Hmm.
We'll see who ends up playing her. I don't want to jinx it, but I
No, of
just
course not.
I just wrote a letter yesterday. So there is a major actress who was in a very heavenly film that I saw years ago, but she is going to be reading it on this big long plane ride back home for the holidays. So we'll see.
I like it. So Aunt Max is what you have
Yeah.
in the works, maybe.
At Max at
Jawbreaker.
Jawbreaker, and I'm
Hmm.
working on a series pitch, which is a very Twin Peaks kind of style
Love it.
possession mystery. And I have a slasher that of I
Woo.
might be directing that a friend of mine wrote that I've been developing with him. So,
Hmm.
but it's a very new take on the genre, which I'm excited
Yeah.
about.
So it's all there's stuff in the
Yeah,
works, all
yeah.
that good stuff. Also check out Darren Stein directed a one of the parts of the Flowers of the Attic like revival thing that he did, which is wild. They did all those on Lifetime. So good for you getting a Lifetime little
Yeah,
bag. I
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah.
Um, I see the vision, I definitely see the vision. But you want to plug your socials and all that?
Yeah, it's just my name, Darren Stein.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Instagram and Twitter. And that's about it.
All right. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today, Darren, about your wonderful film. And of course, George Northy, shout out to the writing. But yeah, I think that's everything. But thank you so much. And maybe I'll have you back on the show, talk about Sparkler, maybe. We'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you so
Yes,
much.
Sparkler needs some love, some love.
Sparkler does need some love. I gotta watch it, but the trailer's
I
pretty
was
good, and I'd like to do an episode on it for
You would
sure.
love it. I was really happy because Freddie Prinze Jr. was in it years ago.
Right.
And he was so young. He doesn't talk about it ever. Because I remember I once saw him at a party and he had
Hmm.
She's All That coming out and I had Jawbreaker coming out. And we were kind of competing
Right.
with our movies. It was cute. I didn't know he had a horror podcast and he was doing
Oh.
an episode on Alien and he was talking about Veronica Cartwright and he said, "Oh, I did not." He's like, "I actually did one of my very first movies with her back in the day called Sparkler." So he gave it a
Mhm.
shout out on his podcast. So I
I
was
love
like,
that.
"Okay, Freddie, come through."
Look at you, also married to literal Sarah Michelle Gellar mother. Oh my god. Like what? But yeah, so and then Park Overall and like all these people. Oh my
But
god,
yeah,
it's a
Jamie
whole thing.
Kennedy, Jamie and Freddie are great in it. You should watch it. It's really
I'm
great.
gonna watch it. It's on my Apple TV, so for sure. But love to have you back as well. Go check out all the things I've done. But thank you so much. And yeah, I think that's everything. And yeah, so that is my interview with Darren Stein. I am just saying this here right now. I'm like I pinched myself a little bit because I was like, wow, that's super cool that I was able to get the director of this movie to like come on and talk about it. And it was so cool to talk to Darren. I mean, I won't get too deep about it, but like, I mean, I grew up like loving Jawbreaker and seeing that movie so young and having it have a certain effect on me, right? And I still like it for what it is. I think it's this over the top kind of ridiculous, cartoon, if you will, right? And it's just really cool that I was able to get him on my show and have him talk about this film, which, for all intents and purposes, I think also has this interesting place in some queer cinema, and it's a nice little movie that I think accomplishes what it's trying to do for the most part. And so yeah, it was just so cool. So again, thank you, Darren, for coming on my show and actually being a great guest and being a great interview personally. Yeah, so go support anything he's doing in the future. I would say he seems like a cool dude. So yeah, I mean that's a little bit about that. But I mean overall, to kind of wrap it all up, I really do think, like, at least for me, and maybe anybody else who has similar taste to me or whatever. Who knows? Like, what taste? I do think that GBF is a movie that is worth checking out. It is very unabashedly queer. It's very much just like a kind of a time capsule of 2013, if you will. This is like right on the cusp of like marriage equality and stuff being passed, and especially now, just seeing things get like be repealed and like all this kind of shit. It's just really crazy to kind of see this tipping point, if you will, and just see how many things have changed within 10 years as well. I think overall, like, it's just a fun little movie that I don't think you have to think too much about, it's not really like super duper deep, and it was obviously kind of targeted to a different demographic, but I will say that, I think it is worth a watch, if anything. I think it's a nice little queer movie, and I just like having cinema made by queer folks, about queer folks, and all of that. I can really get behind it, and I think we just need that, especially in the community, and I just really like that. I want to support any filmmaker who, and as you heard already, this movie was a labor of love, and it was, wasn't the easiest thing to make, I don't think, but it ended up working out, and that's awesome. And I think if anything, like, I do hope that, like, not that I've seen it, I think I'm gonna wait for it to stream, but like the Mean Girls musical, that's kind of again, I've been hearing rumblings, because you're hearing this a little in the future, but like people are kind of hot and cold on it or whatever, but I really do kind of hope that, like, in some way, they can get like a Jawbreaker musical off the ground, and I think that would be kind of a fun little thing to do. Obviously Heathers and Mean Girls have done it as well, but like, Jawbreaker did that a while back anyway, you know what I mean? So like, I don't see why they couldn't just make that a thing. Maybe it just goes right to streaming. That's fine. I think that's perfectly okay. And yeah, I don't know. It'd be super cool. But I would say go check out GBF. I think it's a fun watch. It's pretty accessible. You can find it like, I'm pretty sure you can find it on Peacock, but you can also find it on like Tubi every so often. It's pretty easy to find and watch, so for sure. And yeah, you'll have a gay old time, if you will, and I think it's tongue-in-cheek enough where I think you'll enjoy yourself if you go in with the right mindset. But as we always close the show out with, if you want to follow my show, Cult Cinema Circle, you can do so on social media at on Instagram, I'm at Cult Cinema Circle, and on Twitter /X, I'm at Cult Cinema Circle, and on Letterboxd, I'm at Jesse, Jesse, Kremp, Kremp, where you can watch my little watch list and, see what I've been watching in the month, see what I might be covering in the future, my stupid little reviews I put up there, whatever you want to see, and all that good stuff. If you can so kindly rate and comment and subscribe on your podcatcher of choice, so please rate 5 stars on your podcatcher, leave me a 1 to 2 sentence review, saying you like the show or whatever you want to do. If you want to email me, you can do so at cultcinemacircle@gmail.com, and you can tell me hey, or you can give me whatever feedback you want, you can give me suggestions, whatever. Like, I'm all open to all of it. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast, and remember, we all know you're gayer than a very special episode of Glee. Take care. Bye.